All right, so now I'm going to get these guide wraps on, and then I think I'm going to do a little bit of flex coat on those, because that's pretty much all I have left to do after wrapping in these little guide sections is finish with the flex coat portion of the job. Pretty much got all of the debris off of here. Jumpy motor, punchy. All right, so what I'm gonna do, is just to make sure that I got this thread as far over as I can get it, as close to the existing thread. I'm just gonna use my burnishing tool to just try to move that thread over a little bit. That should be good. If you're an experienced builder and you're watching this and you have any tips for me as far as any of the issues that I'm having with my machine and the punchiness, you know, this I think actually did oil up this main shaft on the motor recently. But if you have any tips or see anything that I'm doing that could help, feel free to mention it in the comments. I think the chuck might be getting a little bit out of round, which is weird because it got really off-centered before, and I took all the teeth out of it and reset it. And I don't know how that's happening because, you know, I'm not really sure how that's happening, but if it's happening and you know why, feel free to comment. If you notice how, if you watch right here, it's a little out of round. It's not like perfectly like a lathe. You know, it just tightens or backs off. So I don't know how it would get out of round. But I think I'm about at the point where I'm probably ready to take the 3 teeth apart and like recenter them, because I think that's part of what my issue is. Usually I would finish off this type of a section like right here instead of doing this. Usually I would do like my cobalt color that I'm using with this color as a cap. Usually I would do like, I would lay one of those in there with the cap and kind of like try to mimic the guide wraps and do that. But when I did Pam's gaff, I just did this and I was actually really happy with the outcome. Because I feel like the other thing is almost kind of like taking away from this, and then this is cool because it's starting like a start point right here where it comes in. You know, you can tell obviously that was cut off, but Okay. I'll use this right here. Not good. This is like super wonky. See how the gap is right here? Watch how wide it gets right there, and then it gets narrow. So what I need to do is pretty much pack as much thread as I can get and walk it over, compress it, get it really tight, and then whenever I get this anchored in, I'll be kind of walking it back over. Freaking fell off my spool. So annoying. Okay, I'm gonna back off. This is why you really want to get your wind checks lined up straight when you install them. And I use a little cut off piece of EVA foam that I put on the blank, and then I push those up, and it keeps pressure, keeps those in place. And I've done it many times, and for some reason I think what happened was when I cut the grip was probably off a little bit, so I didn't really get the best result on that. That's as far as I can go with this. So I'm going to cut that and tuck it in here to tie it off. It's being a bitch. So I'm gonna pull this over so I can lay in my blade and cut that off. All right, so let me see if I can walk this thread over and try to close this gap, because that's a pretty aggressive gap. So I'm actually trying to push from far back in here at this line to move a bunch of threads over to give me some room to walk this thread over right here where this is a pretty big gap. All right, that's probably about as good as it's gonna get. So cool, and then that's gonna be pretty cool. All right, now I gotta do, I mean, obviously I'm talking, so that's slowing down the process, but it literally took me almost 11 minutes to do this, which it's crazy. There's no reason why it should be taking me that long. Maybe I'm just talking too much, but it's kind of a little bit instructional, so I'm fine with that. I guess it's not a race or a speed contest, so this one I guarantee you I'm gonna get done way faster though, because now I'm conscious of it. Like, I'm like, really, dude? It took you 10 minutes to do that? That's freaking crazy. But I mean, I'm doing other things. I'm moving this thread over, trying to ensure that I get the best result on this. Stuff there. I'm just going to go by hand to try to keep this thing from popping around and vibrating these big gaps that I'm getting. It's working a lot better. I'm still getting some gaps. And I want to pack this in here really tight because I know I'm going to have to walk the thread this way to fill in this gap that I've got from these line checks that are on kind of wonky. This one is not as wonky as the other one was. A little bit more tight packing here. Just a little bit. All right. I think I'll use this piece right here. My little knot pullers are nowhere to be found. I had maybe 4 of them total. One of them I just vacuumed up. It's pretty common. I keep doing that. I think I can go like this. Get this one in here. Get that down a little further. Okay. Big old gap. You see that big old gap right there? Definitely drives me nuts. Hope I don't cut that off right now. I see a piece of tag debris from the prior that I missed. Shit. Did I just mess up? We're about to find out. No. Maybe I did. I might have messed up. Nope, that's just debris. Big old piece that was stuck in there. All right, so now I gotta move threads a bunch. Debris. Still pretty bad gap. Still a lot of debris on this one. Some of it's debris and some of it's just where the anodize is chipped off of the winding check. which kind of bothers me, but yep, still at 20 minutes, so it took me still 10 more minutes to do this. It's because I'm trying to move these threads though. That's moving pretty good actually right now. Yeah, that worked pretty good. Cool. Good enough. All right, so here's what that looks like now. Boom. Could do the cobalt purple right on top of this, start here and end like right about there and leave like the same size as my other caps. Actually could do that. Actually probably should do that. I think I'm not going to though. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. I think I like that. It's pretty crazy looking, that wacky wrap. I wonder if people like that. Comment if you like that or not. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you think it's stupid or you don't like it. I mean, you know, obviously it's the look I was going for. So I'm sure, especially if you're into rod building and you're into like closed wraps and stuff like that, you're probably not into that at all. But I'm guessing a lot of builders have never even seen that, because I only ever saw it once on that one rod that Rooster did. And then I never saw it again after that. So it's kind of like a new thing that I didn't invent, but could turn into a new thing if anybody likes it enough to try it. I've got a lot of spots where the anodize got knocked. I'm not going to worry about it. This rod's going to get fished anyway, so cool. All right, so I'm going to flex coat this really quick, and I'm just going to do just these sections right here. I'm going to get some medium in here, so that'll level that out, so then when I do my next top wrap over it, I won't have these big deep spots over here. Also on these brushes that I told you I use, I have had I've used different brands over the years with different colors. Some of them are more pastels, some of them are, you know, whatever, different colors. And I have had sometimes where like the finish kind of ate away at the plastic and kind of created like a little bit of a residue that I wasn't looking for. So just a word of caution that, you know, these brushes aren't really made for the two-part epoxy. These little purple brushes right here, those look like Flex Coat light brushes, which are made for rod building. And then the regular yellow Flex Coat brushes, these are these bigger Flex Coat brushes. They're considerably heavier. You can see these are way bigger, like twice as much. Like twice the size, maybe 3 times. I feel like I get a better result with these little ones. All right, so just be aware if you use these little Walmart brushes like I'm using that you could have some little issues. I don't really know what it would hurt unless like some got into your finish and caused you any grief with your finish, which could happen, but I'm not thinking about that or worried about it. So I'm just gonna mix .8 of each, because I'm just being cheap and trying not to waste material. I can tell you that if you're mixing these really small batches, it doesn't leave a lot of room for error, because if the measurement is a little bit off, or you have like air bubbles trapped in there, which those are two small minor things that probably will apply, then if you have a smaller quantity, relatively speaking, that's probably more likely to give you some problems with your mix. I'm not worried about it. This is basically, in this area, the first coat, and you could argue maybe it's the second coat because of the stuff that's already in there, but there's going to be at least probably 2 more after this. So like any funkiness in the mix, I know I can recover from. So I'm just going to do it the way I'm doing it. You know, you could mix 3 cc's of each for everything, but you end up with like literally way more in the cup left over than you actually used. And we used to do that, and gas was $1.50 back then. Now it's not. So everything's way expensive, including this stuff. You know, not to mention every time you run out of stuff, it used to be, you know, $4 or $5 to ship like a little small package, and maybe even less than that. And now it's like, you know, $10 or $15 shipping charge. So hopefully that'll be enough. All right. If you go really fast, it'll fling this stuff off. Kind of pushing it over up to this crease. I was just pushing it over, filling up the little gap of space in between the level of the thread and that winding check, which is, that winding check was kind of loose, so there's like some dead space there. So I'm just trying to get this material to kind of like fill in up to that space. All right, I think that's okay for that side, and then you see how I'm taking the material and pushing it? I'm squeegeeing it over right up to this transition to kind of like build it up a little higher. I'm trying to even it out a little bit. I'm going to push it the other way, push it up to the winding check. Again, just trying to fill in that dead space. Okay, that looks pretty good for this coat, because I'm still going to have a few more thicker coats that's going to help to even out the thickness. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit more material on this section here. Maybe try to still push some over better in here. Yeah, that works, and that looks good on both sides. I might try to get just a little bit more on this side. You also want to close that gap because you don't want any water to intrude in that opening if there is one, especially if it's going in the salt water. This is more of a freshwater rod, but I actually would kind of like to fish this rod in the salt water too, so I probably will at some point. Cool, I think that's good. I'm gonna call it good. Switch over to my dryer motor. Just get a little bit of heat on this. A little bit of heat. Cool. That was that. That was long. Oh my gosh. Raw building is time consuming, guys.